I'm David with EV World News, where we talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Well, it's going well, and I will just give everyone a heads up here that my roof is being replaced right now. So I may occasionally, when it gets a little racket with hammering and things, go to mute. But so let's see how we do. Let's see whether all that hammering and.
Well, I've noticed you've reduced your audio, so you're quieter today than normal.
Oh,
maybe,
okay.
Maybe your microphone was too far away.
Well, it's right here next to me, but that can. All right, good.
Okay. All right. Anyways, so today we're going to cover a number of topics. We're going to cover some record charging time for EV batteries, how much an EV tax credits have been issued so far this year for the purchase of new EVs in the United States, the complications of choosing a home EV charger, how much long-range EVs now cost, the Hyundai Casper electric car, which looks like it's going to be a really inexpensive electric vehicle. And I want to talk about the percentage of American EV owners who say that their next purchase is going to be a gas car.
Yes,
so,
right.
Yeah, so it'd be a little bit on the other side. But anyways, so we're going to start out talking about the Lotus Emeya. Now, I don't even know who owns Lotus currently. You know who owns Lotus right
now? Yeah, Geely does. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
same guys that have Polestar, and who else do they have? They went and bought up a number of
Volvo.
Volvo, not a bunch of bargain car companies.
So the Lotus Emeya can charge from 10 to 80% in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, electric Hyper GT sets a new record for battery filling. Now, this is on a 400 kilowatt battery pack. I'm curious what it says, what the voltage was of the charger. So it's the fastest charging car, is one of the fastest charging car in the world. The car set a record of 10 to 80% in 14 minutes. You know, I recall that the Lucid Air can charge, can add 200 miles in less than 12 minutes. Of course, that's a different feature. 10 to 80%. I guess it depends on the size of the battery, right? So that's
exactly.
A big thing.
And this doesn't say what what the range of the car is. So how much range did we add? Which is, I think, what most people would be concerned about. Can 14 minutes, can that give me 150 miles, or does that give me 400 miles? It doesn't. It's not clear on that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It says the engine, the torque, the acceleration, 0 to 62 in 2.78 seconds.
All the fun things.
Yeah. Max speed 159.
Yeah.
But it recharges 10 to 80% in 14 minutes. But what does that mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
That we have battery questions in the article. Oh, shame on you, Motor One. Where is the actual range of this car?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see. It has a 400 kilowatt power pack absorbed at an average of 331 kilowatts. Oh, it doesn't tell us what the voltage, because we know the new 800 volt chargers coming out when the cars can handle them is going to be extremely, fast charging. Sadly, I vote this a non-story. I'm going to move on.
Well, yeah, let's move on. Yeah. I wanted to highlight it because, people complain about, it takes so long for you to get and we're getting technology. They're not the only one that basically came out a few days ago. A company called Flow has a charger that says that they can do essentially 10 to 80% in either it was somewhere 12 to 15 minutes. So that's becoming, it's not normal quite yet, but that's where we're headed. We're getting there. So
no, we know that 5-minute charging is around the corner. It's probably before it's super widespread. You're going to need those cars to be getting sold out there, because even the newest Teslas, other than the Cybertruck, can't take it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a couple of years before most cars, let's just say it's going to be 5 years before most cars probably are capable of accepting it, and before most supercharging stations
And that's, yeah, when
are
we say that, we're
able to
talking about
provide it.
new cars, because I doubt anybody's going to go back and, retrofit a 5 or 10-year-old EV.
Right, right. Yeah, we're going to be talking new cars being able to have that technology, not used cars. So that's, part of it. But our next topic covers something kind of surprising. I would not have guessed the number was this big, but this year it became possible to both, when you purchase an EV, that you can get, if it qualifies for the $7,500 tax credit, you can get it at the point of purchase as
Right.
part of your down payment. Or if it's a used car, you can get up to $4,000
Hmm.
upfront for the same purpose. Well, so far this year, in the first 5 months of the year, it's already been $1 billion have
Billion
been
dollars.
issued.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
has been quite overwhelming. So the
Which is
federal government
interesting, of course, in the context of what we talked about the last time, which was the fact that dealers are complaining that their dealerships aren't getting, the
paid fast
reimbursement in
enough.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not getting paid fast enough. But the federal government has paid $1 billion for new and used electric vehicles as an upfront cash incentive to car buyers. The advance payment started on January 1st. The credits, 7,500 and 4,000, were previously available only when EV buyers filed their annual tax returns. Let's see if it says how many
Yeah,
this
it does.
worked out to.
125,000 people have taken advantage of the $7,500 tax credit, and 25,000, I mean, obviously these are rounded off numbers, but 25,000 people have taken advantage of the $4,000 previously owned EV tax credit. So
Yeah,
that's what, 150,000 people.
yeah, and these numbers, people always say, "Oh, it's just the entitled rich people who can do this." Well, the problem is if you're over a certain income threshold, you don't qualify.
Right. Yeah.
So these numbers, the used one, to get the used tax credit, you have to make under $75,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it is designed to be different, and there's a lot of state programs too that are incentivized. Like we talked about, somebody
Right.
buying a Nissan Leaf for
Yeah.
$700 the other
Miss,
day
what was it? Miss
because
Ramirez, I think, something
in
like that. Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still tickled to death that she got heated steering wheel
Yeah.
on a car for
I don't
seven
even
hundred
have that on
dollars.
mine. I do have heated seats though, which I
Yeah,
really like.
yeah, no, but that's a pretty big deal. So in April 24, the average purchase price for electric cars was new cars was 55,000 versus about 45,000 for gas cars. Now, that still tells you, though, that people, when they're buying EVs, are choosing to buy more expensive EVs
Hmm.
because there are starting to be some. But when you take that same $55,000 and you add a $7,500 tax credit, and if you live in one of the states that also chips in a few thousand more for the state, you're at this same price point.
Yep. Well, and in addition to that, people talk about, I mean, that's the average for an EV. But Nissan just rolled out their new Leaf, and that new Leaf is less than $30,000 without the tax credits, less than $30,000.
Well,
So
and
you're
the
talking,
Hyundai
you're
Kona,
talking, under 25, 24,000.
and the Hyundai Kona is
Mhm.
starting to be brought in on less than that price as well.
Yeah.
Average prices for new EVs declined by 9% in the first quarter versus the same period last year. So a lot of it is there's just more and more availability of less expensive models.
Well, that too, and there's somewhat of you take, for example, down in Australia, both Tesla and BYD are having cars piling up on the dockside storage areas, and I saw a headline. I didn't get a chance to look at it real closely, but it talked about there being a fire sale down there. Some of these cars the companies are, really taking it. Cuts to the bottom line to move those cars off those parking lots.
Well, let me see. There are limitations on the EV tax credit availability. Let's see what they're saying here. 90% of transactions for new EVs that qualified for an advance payment, a new clean vehicle tax credit. Let's see. 80% of qualified buyers took the 4,000 on the used
Mhm.
ones. I guess that's saying that 20% of people didn't take the money up front.
Well, either that or didn't qualify or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the dealer didn't tell them about it. Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, yeah. I'm imagining they probably made too much money to qualify. Is probably
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened in these where it didn't quite work out. Senate Republicans introduced a measure to end the federal tax credits
Mhm.
and a separate one to end the tax breaks for EV charging stations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well, falling in line with the L leader.
yeah, but
Anyway,
that's not going to happen. It's already been shown they're not going to pass it. There's not even enough support amongst Republicans to cover it if they even dominated the House. Uh,
yeah, what do we need? We need one more representative to resign or retire or whatever, and everything gets thrown in the mix at that point. So,
well, you have issues where
yep.
you get issues where people don't really support or they don't understand some of the laws that have been passed. I mean, one of the things that's so complex about our government is we have so many laws. Nobody really knows all the
Yeah,
laws. I mean, that's
they
why we
they pass one of these bills and it's like, that thick. It's
no, I'll never get over that one that said we've got to pass it to figure out what it's in it. That
right.
was the Affordable
Which
Care Act back in the
I
before
commend them for their
2010.
thoroughness, but also that offers the opportunity to sneak some stuff in between the paragraphs. So,
Yeah, I've never been impressed with our. I think we have a good system of government, but people still find ways to
oh yeah,
make it corrupt, and I just I hate that.
yeah, yeah. But
You know,
we're I don't think our army is selling off the fuel.
right? We're certainly not doing that. You know?
Letting tires rot, and I mean, they have never been able to do an audit of the Pentagon budget. Now, there are obviously security reasons for doing that, right? We don't want the opponents to know exactly where we're spending our money and why. So I can appreciate that. But it
Wasn't that what
also
happened? I thought
leads,
they did do an audit of the Pentagon back in 2001, and when the hearings were supposed to happen, that was the same day that the plane started crashing into the World Trade Center.
exactly, and they never followed up on that since
Yeah,
then.
there's
So,
been lots of conspiracy theories about why on
well,
the day they were going to
yeah,
bring that up in Congress that
it's all
happened.
being spent on secret, UFO experiments and things like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah,
Probably. All right. So let's talk about this next topic. Choosing a home EV charger is more complicated than you'd ever think.
yeah. This poor guy really apparently had problems.
Did he
But then
go and he
again, I
buy
think he's in Wyoming or somewhere like that. So,
I'm going to assume he bought the wrong connectors.
well,
Um,
I mean, he goes into some detail about his issues, and I wanted to highlight that just simply so people are aware that it may be a little bit more challenging, to get that home charger installed. But then again, remember that you always comes with a one can be charged from a 110 outlet, and who doesn't have a 110 outlet that you could
right.
string an extension cord, suitably heavy extension cord, mind you, out to charge the car. It'll take all night, but still it works until you can figure out how to get the other charger. So, but yeah, he started off with a Gorilla E charger.
Grizzly.
That's right. Yeah, Grizzly charger, and then he eventually moved on to an Autel or something like that, and things went better after that. So I just try to keep people aware that it's not always plug and play. There could be some issues there. So
Yeah, he talks about how his Grizzly had issues with connecting to the Wi-Fi so he could charge the
right.
car.
Yeah, it was mainly that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No public charging available anywhere near where he lived. That was a problem. I got by with the EV I had by using the household plugs, but
Right.
those weren't always 240 and let me rely on the vehicle's data to estimate charge times and efficiency. So
Yeah.
I purchased a 32A portable plug and cord that had good reviews and it was within my $150 budget. Wow. I also thought that maybe a take it with you charger for any to travel any distance beyond town with an EV. I live with this charger and an occasionally functioning Grizzle E for over a year. Wow, this person had some challenges with some
He
cheap
did.
chargers.
He did have, but then again, bear in mind that I think if I remember correctly, he's out in Wyoming. So, I don't know, there's like less than 500 EVs in all of Wyoming or something like that. So it's a
Let's
long way
see.
between chargers, public or private. But there's always
Yeah,
a plug somewhere.
yeah. Well, this was kind of interesting. Well, and for starters, the guy had a Toyota Busy Forks. What was he doing getting one of those, anyways?
I know.
You know what? It's another one of those attempts to just make dumb EVs, and Toyota did not make a good effort to bring
No,
that to market.
no,
I
they
mean,
haven't.
they've been kind of sad. Okay. Our next article is from Bloomberg. I'm always hesitant to do Bloomberg because half the time it's behind a paywall and you can't
Behind
get
the
anywhere.
paywall. Yep.
Yeah, but long-range EVs now cost less than the average new car in the US. Now, I don't think people understand. So when we say a long-range EV, we mean one that has at least 200 miles of range on a full charge. Okay. Oh, actually, they're saying
Yeah,
300
they're
miles
saying
in this.
300. Yeah, 300 miles
300
makes
here.
long range. Yeah,
Tesla, Hyundai.
remember, that's the bladder distance.
Yes, there we go. Tesla, Hyundai, Kia, and General Motors now offer EVs more than 300 miles of range for less than the cost of an average new vehicle sold in the US. Now, that average cost of a vehicle is 47,000,
47,000, right? Yeah.
and the most affordable is the Hyundai Ioniq 6, which has 360 miles of range. That's pretty nice. That's a big range. At a
Yeah.
price tag that's 25% below the national average of 47,000.
Yeah,
Now,
that's why I featured it as the photo that goes with the editor's choice, because that was
so the Hyundais, a lot of them don't qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, but they've been pricing them low enough that it doesn't matter. But now that they're going to start manufacturing in Georgia, that's going to start changing.
that'll change it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because they're going to be making 300,000 EVs a year starting next year in Georgia. They've actually started making cars there already, but they're not quite completely done with all of the.
And I'd say competitively, I would say that they are nearly as competitive as Tesla. I think they're still ahead of the U.S. companies, the big three. So and their styling, they've really got some of those vehicles that they put out just really have the styling down. So I see big things for them coming up.
One of my friends recently switched from an Audi plug-in hybrid to a Kia EV6. And he was telling me, some of the things. He's had pretty good experience with the Kia, but his Audi being a plug-in hybrid, he had some interesting issues with it, where occasionally he had to turn the car off and back on because the battery went dead because it used all the battery, and it didn't automatically switch to the gas. And he restarted the car and it turned on the gas. So he said he's had some weird, scary moments in the Audi, and so he decided he was going to get rid of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that Audi Volkswagen group has had issues with the software on their vehicles, and they've had recalls and stopped production, things like that to try to resolve. So obviously that's a software issue, some bug.
I'm not going to say I haven't had cars do similar, where a lot of things, like with your Bluetooth and stuff like that in a car, sometimes you have to just turn the car off and back on to get some of that stuff to work. It's basically you're rebooting the computer.
I have to do that with my television, right? There are times when it just when it gets to the point where, look, the only thing you're going to do is unplug it, pull the power, and then let the computer reset itself, and then everything works fine. So if that happens with my, 40-inch, whatever that thing is, flat screen upstairs, it's going to happen with a car. So Just
I know, but
unplug it.
it's a little scarier when that stuff happens in a car.
Oh yeah, because you don't want that happen when you're, 40 miles away from home or you're driving at 60 miles, 70 miles an hour down the road. So yeah.
No, I know. Let's see here. What do we got? But Stellantis is about to offer an electric Jeep of some sort for $25,000. That'll probably be a hot seller for them. Man, they really need to get off their butt and stop trying to sell their gas Jeeps for $75,000.
Yeah, there's a big market out there still for them.
There is, but they're
everywhere.
sitting on 6 months of inventory.
Yeah.
So that's makes for a tough market. Let me see. Oh, U.S. lease deals are winning on price in the U.S. The Ioniq 5 with 303 miles of range can be leased for $258 a month.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn affordable.
Yeah.
Especially when you figure you're going to be saving a few $100 a month on gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. The Model Y can be as little as $399. You know what's kind of deceiving? When you go on the Tesla webpage, it tries to say this is what your estimated payment is after you factor in the tax credits and your gas savings.
Right.
And I always think, yeah, that's just kind of
that's kind of what you drive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just tell me how much the lease payment is.
I bet though, with all that data they collect, that they have a pretty good idea what the average mileage is of the people that own their cars, because they know I'm guessing here, I'm assuming here, given all the information that is sent back to. I mean, Elon wants to build a dedicated. I mean, what was it? He had some huge number of chips sitting around supposedly that he couldn't use. And he said, no, don't put them in the car. Send them over here because we're going to build a great big centralized data system there, and I guess near Austin or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're collecting a lot of information, particularly because they want to get that for their autonomous driving. So yeah, I would say they probably know what the average mileage is that people drive their cars.
Yeah, I'm sure they know a few things from all that data. Let's see, as a whole, EVs are selling for 15% more than a typical US car. But one of the things is there's a whole lot of people who never buy new cars. I have very rarely ever bought a new car.
Here.
Okay, I've always bought used. And so, you've got some of that too. You've got people that like to buy new and deal with the depreciation and stuff like that. And, that's great. But price is going to continue to be one of the top barriers for adoption, unless you can buy that Nissan Leaf for $700, right?
Right.
More people want to get in on that deal. But long range EV boom. This is kind of an interesting graph. So unique models offering 300 miles of range. In 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, it was only Tesla. Tesla is the black here.
Yeah.
Nobody else had that. Then Ford jumped in 21. And Ford now that was one model. Now they have two models. Gray was Hyundai jumped in 22. A bunch of companies jumped in 22. Do we have anybody else jump in later? The yellow color. Yellow is General Motors. Rivian is this dark blue spot here. And this last one is other. Other is taken up a little space there.
Who is other? I wonder.
Yeah. Other could be a number of companies. I mean, you got, this doesn't show like Polestar or, Lucid or some of the others. But, here's more EV lease deals comparing to similar cars. We have that 243, but here's a Camry and gas is 346. Okay.
$100 more.
Yeah. Tesla Model 3 versus a BMW 3 is almost $200 less. And these are all 10,000 miles of driving annually with $3,000 down. So that's a pretty good little article, I thought.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the Hyundai Casper and see that the
Yeah,
pictures we
yeah.
get of this are kind of like they're trying to keep it a
It's
secret.
well, yeah, because it's based on a gasoline version that apparently sold really, really well, and so they, uh, there are other pictures out there of, I don't know why they decide to try to hide it unless it's a really big change, but yeah, they call it Inster, and
Hmm.
it may that's available apparently in Asia, but it probably will not be available here. Um, but yeah, I think it's one of those that's they're shooting for like $20,000, something like that with it. I mean, it's for a small SUV. Apparently, it's not all that much bigger than my Fiat, actually, except it looks to have at least four doors. And maybe that's that back door is one of those suicide things that open up, because I don't see any handles back there. So,
It's right.
oh, there
Well,
it is, right up there. There it is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's got it up there. Yeah, it's a cute little small SUV.
Good little, yeah, little runabout, and probably has, I would imagine. Does it list the range on it? I don't know if it gave the range numbers on the electric version, because that could
Let's
change by the
see.
time it comes here, to the U.S. It's
220. 220.
Yep. Well, Bun, that's the European is a little bit more generous than what ours would be. So
Yeah, but that's it's going to come to
well,
Australia.
yeah, it's the baby budget. Yeah, I like
We
that.
may not see this here in the United States.
No, we may not. It not may not make it here.
21.5 in Europe.
Yeah.
Right in the mix with the Fiat 500e and similar products from Chinese automakers. Well, it's cool to see these cars getting cheaper, because people always talk about how expensive they are, and they're certainly starting to come out with cheaper options.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, what was it here a day or so ago? That was 3 of the 5 stories that I highlighted were cars that were shooting for the 25 to $25,000 price range.
So our last article for today is kind of the funny one. It's 46% of American EV owners say they're going to get a gas-powered car next, and it's for a great reason. Now, this is the only reason I say this is a little disingenuous, because it makes it sound like they're going to trade in their
They're going to trade in, yeah,
for a gas car, but that's not the case.
No.
They're looking at, hey, I just bought an EV. I'm going to keep a gas car around, because in the United States, the average EV owner owns approximately 2.5 cars, and only one of those is electric.
Yeah.
I do know people who have 3 EVs in their household, but they still have a gas car.
Yeah, yeah.
We
always have. I like we were talking before going on the air, is that I'm one of those. I don't have 2.5. I have 2. One is electric, and that's the one we drive all the time. And then we've got a Prius, just in case those, once a year trips when we go visit friends in Des Moines, or, I have to go to the airport and I don't want the electric sitting there. So we've got what is it? It's a 2009 model Prius. And the biggest challenge with that car is that periodically I have to put a 12-volt, put the trickle charger on it to keep the 12-volt up to charged up, because we just don't drive it. I mean, occasionally my wife, she wants to go, she's into hobbies and doing miniatures, and so she likes to go, out and see what's in the stores. So she'll take the Prius, but mainly the reason is so we can keep the 12-volt battery charged up and the fluids moving through the engine, just to keep the car. But other than that, all our driving here in town is in the electric.
Yeah, that's pretty understandable. But let's see, the article tried to make it kind of sound like people were going to stop driving EVs, but that seems unlikely. 46% said that their top concern was the inadequacy of the public charging infrastructure. And they also cited concerns with high costs of ownership. and detrimental impact to long distance trips.
Yeah.
I don't know what the high costs of ownership would be. So that's kind of an
Particularly
interesting point.
since now we've got long range cars that cost less than the
Right.
equivalent ICE car. So
Yeah. Well, so much of it is perceptions.
yeah.
And I talk to people all the time that have no idea even about, like we were talking about, the tax credits. Well, people who are kind of in the know that watch, our
Watch EV
content, and the
World.
people,
Yeah.
they're familiar with this, but the average citizen has no idea about all of these things to add to that.
So a month, besides getting our roof replaced today because we had a hailstorm, a month or so ago, our air conditioner is going out.
Oh no.
So now we're having tomorrow, while they're working on the roof today, tomorrow the guys from the HVAC system are coming over to replace our air conditioner. So the guy that came over, who was sort of the sales rep and, spec the system and everything, said, I talked to him over the phone. He said, yeah, he says, I'm never going to drive an EV. I'm never going to own. I'm never going to own an EV. And I said, have you ever driven one? And there was a pause. No. Well, there you are.
Yeah. Well.
Don't drive an EV, or you're going to want to have an EV.
Right. It is kind of funny how that plays out. Well, Bill, I got to say your roofers have been quite cooperative. I haven't heard them.
Yeah, it's not too bad, actually. Yeah. I mean, sporadically I hear it here, but hopefully it didn't disturb too many of our listeners.
No, I mean, I didn't even really notice it through the whole show.
Good.
So anyways, folks, that's all we've got to cover today.
Okay,
and
thanks.
Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a great day.
Okay.